Welcome to Annapolis Mosaics. Our program spotlights people in our community who are involved in activities designed to promote good human relations. I am Michael Keller, the chair of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission and your host. The commission is a city board that seeks to promote equal opportunity and to eliminate discrimination. My guests today are Pamela Jordan, who is the director of the Anne Arundel County Department of Aging and Disabilities, and Carla Schaefer, who is the public information officer in that department. Pamela and Carla, welcome to Annapolis Mosaics.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here.
Anne Arundel County has more than 80,000 residents in the age group of 60 and older. And projections suggest that seniors will constitute about a quarter of the state's population in 20 years. What implications does that have for your department and for public policy in general?
Well, let's go back a little bit to how we're addressing that at the federal level. Of course, the Department of Aging and Disabilities, which does serve the city of Annapolis, I can't emphasize that enough, is mandated through the Older Americans Act of 1965. Now, through that act, every state in the country is required to have an Aging and Disability Resource Center. In Anne Arundel County and in Maryland, each almost all the jurisdictions, and some on the Eastern Shore combined, but we have something called a Maryland Access Point. So in Maryland, we call our Aging and Disability Resource Center Maryland Access Point, or MAP. And what are we doing to prepare for these growing numbers? We are consistently making applications to the state through federal money that passes from the federal government to enhance our programs and to do some long-term planning in cooperation with the State Department of Aging. And let me just say, our department does not only serve older adults, but it's equally important that we consider and serve our caregivers, family caregivers in particular. And not all people realize they're a caregiver. They just think they're doing their, that they're taking care of mom or dad, or they're taking care of their spouse. They are a caregiver, and they are people we serve as well. And equally important are individuals with disabilities over the age of 18. So you make a great point. We are currently serving about 40% of Anne Arundel County's population, 40%, and growing. And baby boomers, I think Carla's too young, but I'm bringing up the probably the end of the baby boomers, 1961, and 1964 is the cutoff, and we're coming.
And I'm the starter of the baby boomers, 1946.
Well, there you go.
We're at the two ends of it.
We are at the two ends, and we're going to need services. So our department is very forward-thinking and looking ahead at that.
Yeah. I've had an opportunity to review the material on your website, as well as the book that you're holding there, PAM, Services for Seniors.
Yep.
And I think that our viewers and listeners are going to be very impressed by the array of programs and services that your department provides. And I think to focus our conversation this morning, I have organized the various programs and services in your department into 9 categories. I'm going to sort of go through them in general. And those 9 categories are advocacy, food, home health care, housing, information and assistance, respite, senior centers, transportation, and programs on which you heavily rely on volunteers. And so I'm not going to throw. I'm just going to go through these individually. Have I left out anything that's really important?
You've pretty much covered it.
Okay. All right.
Done.
Good.
Well done.
Good. Well, that was an on-screen test, because I was to say we'll see how well I did with that. Well, you already talked about the Maryland Access Point, and I think that's good. It's my understanding, in terms of the advocacy part of it, that you do serve as advocates for residents of nursing and assisted living facilities in the area. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with respect to that?
Sure. We do have advocates, what we call ombudsmen, that are available to residents of nursing homes and assisted livings that can help those residents with things as minor as, well, you know, just imagine being a resident, your whole lifestyle has changed. I'm going to use an example that our director of the Ombudsman program uses once in a while, Charlene Liberto. You just want a piece of chocolate. Can I get a piece of chocolate? Mm-hmm. So it can range from something that endearing to abuse. Mm-hmm. So it's the whole gambit of nursing home or assisted living needs for the client. So we are in there at the client's request, mm-hmm. and we do work for the client. We are under the direction again of the state ombudsman office, where we get significant training. We have a volunteer program, so I'd like to encourage people interested in volunteering under this program can work through our department to be an ombudsman and to help advocate for those that can't. Mm-hmm. If I can back up just a little bit too, okay, Michael, sure. That we talked about the Maryland Access Point. That is the gateway to mm-hmm. all services mm-hmm. that we're going to talk about here mm-hmm. today. Right. It is the gateway to all services in our department. So we have a, when you call our department, you will be able to call into the Maryland Access Point Information and Assistance Office mm-hmm. and be screened. Your call will be screened. We'll help you. And we're going to take you through the process where you can benefit from all the services we have. So that is the gateway to everything we have mm-hmm. to offer for older adults, mm-hmm. individuals with disabilities, mm-hmm. and caregivers. Mm-hmm.
You also have I think, a rather interestingly named program called the Senior Medicare Patrol.
Yes, that is a big program.
What does that do?
That is preventing fraud. That helps to prevent fraud and abuse of the Medicare programs. But it's all part of our senior health insurance program, which helps people, every year when people turn 65, they get a birthday letter from us, mm-hmm. and we invite them to come in and do a review of their benefits. So we have professionals on staff all year long, not only during the open enrollment periods, to help people make sure they have the appropriate benefits, and to, but the patrol is a fraud prevention unit.
And SHIP is free to anybody in the county, and it's also confidential, so anyone who wants to come in receive that assistance can.
That's really, really important to know. You also have something called a Senior Health Insurance Assistance Program, too.
Right, and that's the
SHIP. And that's SHIP.
That is the SHIP.
That's the SHIP. Okay.
We encourage everybody that isn't sure about their benefits to get in touch with that office.
Right. You know, in the area of food, you have programs that deal with home delivered meals to people, as well as nutrition programs and things like that. That's something that's very, very important, especially I know for senior adults. Some of them who, for one reason or another, have difficulty staying properly nourished.
Right.
So what do you do in that area?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up. This program is particularly important to me. It is so important for somebody to get what might be their only hot meal, mm-hmm. and on top of that, maybe their only opportunity for socialization and some activity mm-hmm. that day, that I just hold the senior nutrition program in such high regard. We have 19 sites around the county. 7 of them, of course, are in our senior activity centers, but we also have satellite nutrition sites going on 5 days a week, mm-hmm. where you get a nutritionally balanced meal, a hot meal, mm-hmm. and you get the chance to socialize. Mm-hmm. And we have activities that go along at those mm-hmm. nutrition sites. So mm-hmm. that is so important. And if you're not already participating in that program, for our listeners and viewers, please call our department and sign up for that.
Mm-hmm. And I know they're very reasonably priced too.
I believe it's over age 65. They are donation based, mm-hmm. But nobody's really turned away. Right. It's a donation base, right. And under 65 there is a nominal mm-hmm. cost. Right.
Yeah. In the home health care area, or the general health care area, you've got a program called Community Care Partnership.
Right.
What's that about?
Well, what that's about is that's upholding the whole purpose of our department is really, mm-hmm. we try to keep people at home as long as possible. Mm-hmm. We don't want them we don't want people to feel like if they call our department, we're going to send somebody out to get mom or dad and you're off to the assisted living or the nursing home. Nothing could be further than the truth. From the truth, we want individuals to stay in their homes for as long as it's healthy for them, so that they can live with dignity in the homes that they choose to live in. So the program you have just referenced does provide in-home health care and chores and sometimes medications, sometimes supplies, incontinence supplies if they're needed. And again, you'd be evaluated by calling in through our Maryland Access Point information and assistance.
Is that in any way connected with the medical assistance personal care program, or is this a separate?
It's a separate, it's a little bit separate. Medical assistance personal care in many cases is dealing with adults with disabilities, and the same thing that we're able to provide in-home care to help people live in the lifestyle that they choose in their home.
And you also have a program that deals with Medicaid. It's a waiver program too.
The waiver program, again, is trying to keep people out of the nursing homes. For people that have reached the nursing home level of care, which we will do something called an AIRS evaluation, where we will evaluate people to see what their daily living activities are like. Are they able to bathe? Are they able to fix their own meals, manage their medications? Those are just a few of the things that people would be asked. And then from there, a determination is made which of these programs are best to keep this individual in the home. So you talk about the waiver program. If somebody is evaluated at a nursing home level of care, if we are able to keep them at home, it's a lot cheaper than having them in a nursing home, and they can get there in an environment that they're comfortable in.
We're going to take a break now, but when we return, we'll be talking with both Pamela and Carla about some additional programs and services that are offered by the Anne Arundel County Department of Aging and Disabilities. We're talking today with Pamela Jordan, who is the director of the Anne Arundel County Department of Aging and Disabilities, and Carla Schaefer, who is the public information officer in that department. Housing is another area that the department works in, specifically provide information about senior housing alternatives to people. You just discuss the importance of keeping people in their homes as much as possible, but of course people have other alternatives as well. What kinds of information do you provide?
Well, we do, you're right, we work very closely with the public when they call in, and there's a great need for housing out there. There are people that the economy has not left older adults alone when it's come to this recession. People have lost their homes. So we work very closely with people, whatever their circumstances, to help find them housing. Now, through that process, we are in partnership with the Housing Commission of Anne Arundel County and, of course, the Annapolis City Housing Authority. They're both great partners of ours, and we work very closely with them. And I should take this opportunity also to mention that we work closely with the Department of Social Services and the Department of Health. But specific to housing, we work with the two housing commissions and the commission and the authority to see that people can get on the list, that they're screened, and that they are qualified for public housing. We also work very closely with Kathy Koch's group, the Anne Arundel Community Development Services, to help people get into home ownership opportunities. So we're a big partner there. We haven't talked much about the Commission on Disability Issues, but we have a housing committee on the Commission on Disability Issues, which is always looking for ways to help people, older adults and people with disabilities, find housing alternatives. But I don't have to tell you, Michael, housing and transportation, those are the two big impediments to quality of life we find in our department.
Well, let's talk about transportation then. You offer van transportation. You offer transportation to voting sites. There is a program of a taxi voucher service. Talk about that.
Oh, love to. Okay. You've got to use our transportation system. Don't stay at home. If you want to get out to a senior center, you need to get out to get your medications, get to a doctor, we can help you. During business hours, we provide transportation to older adults and adults with disabilities over the age of 18 to get to medical appointments, dialysis. We run all 3 dialysis shifts during the day. We can help you get to your prescriptions. We'll get you to a senior center. You did mention, yes, we have in the past worked with the Board of Elections to see that people were able to get to the polls.
Nutrition sites.
Oh, the nutrition sites, get out for that hot meal. Yes, so get to the nutrition sites. And the taxi voucher program, that's great for people that, it's a discounted voucher for using the taxis in Anne Arundel County and Annapolis City, that you can get to off-hour appointments, because we're only during business hours, Monday through Friday, but the taxi voucher hopefully fills in the blanks there. So can we do better with transportation? We always can, but I'm very, very proud of our transportation program and the opportunities it does give to people. And let me just say, the van transportation program is a curb-to-curb service, and you must call, at least give us 42 hours notice is usually what we need to try to schedule you, and you'll go through just a brief application process with it, but we try to make it very customer friendly.
You also have a program in the area of respite care too. Tell us about what you do for respite care, which is very important.
It is very important. We were talking earlier in the show about caregivers, kind of the maybe the forgotten group of people that just assume they're doing what they're doing because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm the spouse of my husband has dementia. This is what I'm supposed to do. But we have resources out there to support you. We can either help get a trained respite. We do the training for respite workers that will go on we'll screen them and train them. So there is an opportunity if you want to provide service to be a caregiver, a professional caregiver. We can help you get into that arena where families can call and schedule your services. But the other thing we do is we try to support the family caregiver, the people who don't really know that there's things out there. Now every year we have an annual, actually we do 2 big caregiver events to help give families a little bit of respite. We'll provide adult daycare for the day in cooperation with some of our the private adult daycare companies will volunteer their services that day. But it's so important. If you're a caregiver and you're not taking care of yourself, what's going to happen? If you go down, what happens to that loved one? So it's so important for the caregiver to get the services they need. And so I encourage anybody, if you don't even think you're a caregiver, but you want to just have some validation, give our department a call and talk to Mary Chappett from our National Family Caregiver Program. We'd love to talk to you and see if we can help support you. Part of that program too is we help family members who are raising their grandchildren, because you're a caregiver too, and we have lots of grandmas out there that are raising little ones, and we try to be helpful to them as well.
Probably in terms of the attachment that members of the community have with your department are those senior centers. I would be willing to bet that a very large majority of seniors in Anne Arundel County have had at least some contact with the senior center. I know I have. I've been through a number of programs that they offer there and the like. Could you give our viewers and listeners a sense of the breadth within the county, the numbers of centers that exist around the county and of course in the city of Annapolis, but also the various things that they offer, and of course you can take a lot of time with that because they offer a whole lot. But give our viewers and listeners who might not understand and realize what the county offers in these senior centers, so that they're able to take advantage of them in the future.
Be glad to. And then I'll start off, and then Carla, you can talk about a lot of the activities that go on in there. You know what? And I want to back up just a minute. Our transportation system, it's a donation-based system. There's not a fee. So I don't want people to be discouraged, and that's what leads me to the senior centers, that there is no charge to be a member of the senior centers. We have 7 senior activity centers. One, of course, is right here in the Annapolis at the revitalized Bates Heritage Complex, and that is a beautiful senior center. It's one of the 7 that we do provide transportation to. We get about 300 people a day through the doors. I'm amazed at the job that our senior center directors do, along with their advisory boards, to keep those running smooth. We took some budget hits a couple years ago, and we don't have the same level of staff, but they are such professionals. They just made it seem seamless out there. But the senior centers are very vital places. They are where we want people to get out and continue living that independent lifestyle. One of the things that does become a little more challenging for us is, in order to be part of a senior center, we do expect that you have you're able to live independently, and that you are can conduct yourself independently at the center. We are finding a little bit of people that have needs such as dementia and that sort of thing. We have a Senior Center Plus program that's helpful with that, but the average senior center participant should be somebody that is vital and active, and it's a great social opportunity, a great chance to get a meal. And then I'm going to let Carla talk about some of the specific things that go on there.
And also, Carla, while you're talking about that, also tell us a little bit about the events that are on tap, and that are sort of ongoing activities that are sponsored by the department.
Of course. Well, sure. As Pam mentioned, there are 7 different senior centers, so no matter where you live in the county, there's one probably nearby you. We have one in Brooklyn Park, the Pascal Center in Glen Burnie. We have the South County Senior Center in Edgewater, Senior Center right here in Annapolis, one in Odenton, one in Pasadena, and one in Arnold. So no matter where you are, there's a senior center near you. There's a lot of activities going on. The department sponsors with other departments as well. Recreation and Parks has classes that they conduct. Some at their aquatic centers. There's aqua-size classes, aqua Zumba. There's also tennis classes, other activities. There's also classes through the community college that are held at the senior centers, and those are on a semester basis, so there's always enrollment and registration going on with those. During tax time, there's volunteer income tax assistance, which is very important for seniors who are making less than $49,000 a year and who are over 55, or for people with disabilities. If they call in advance and make a reservation, they can go into any one of the senior centers and have a tax professional help them out. There's also kind of ongoing social events. In February, there's a living interpreter who is going to enact a scene. I think it's Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and kind of entertain the crowd as if he were Martin Luther King himself.
That'll be an Arnold, right? He'll be in character. He does the character. Yeah, I've heard really good things
Yeah, he does
about
other
him.
characters as well, Benjamin Banneker and Frederick Douglass, but in this instance, he'll be displaying Martin Luther King. Vascular screenings through BWMC, Baltimore Washington Medical Center, for anyone can come in, especially if you have any kind of history of vascular diseases in your family. That's important as well. And there's just fun events. There's Valentine's parties, summer parties. During football season, there's a lot of Purple Fridays. Things like that for Ravens fans and other fans as well. There's Redskins fans that show up in their gear.
All sports fans are welcome.
All sports fans are welcome. So some very important initiatives, but also a lot of fun initiatives as well.
You know, a lot of your, at least many of your programs are in some way dependent on volunteers. You use volunteers very, very well. And I just made a listing of them. You mentioned one of them, that's the Income Tax Assistance Program. You get things like foster grandparents, friendly visitors, Pets on Wheels, the Telephone Reassurance Program. Can you tell us a little bit about these programs and where do volunteers fit in? what kind of contribution do volunteers make to the success of these programs and others at your department?
Well, we don't only help our seniors, but sometimes our seniors, like you mentioned with the foster grandparent, help the community as well. And that's really an initiative for seniors who want to kind of play a mentorship role for younger people in our community to kind of come in and do that. And they visit with them on a regular basis.
Right.
You know what? Our older adults are our best resource in this county.
Yeah.
I mean, the breadth of experience that they have with life and issues and their education, no matter how they got, whatever their education level is, they are just a wealth of experience and our biggest resource in the community. So we love having our seniors come in, our older adults come in and volunteer. One of my favorite programs that we have, they're all extremely valuable, but our telephone reassurance program, 365 days a year, if you're registered on this list, you will get a friendly call from one of our telephone reassurance volunteers. It's a well-being check, just good morning, how you doing? And if you don't answer, there's a call-down list you provided in the registration, and we have saved, at least in the time I've been in this department, I know of 2 lives we have saved. There was a gentleman who didn't answer his phone. We went through the call-down. We couldn't get the family member, we couldn't get the neighbor. Our next line of defense is 911. We called 911 and the gentleman had fallen and was unable to get to the phone, and we were able to save his life. And he had, so it's a very, very valuable program. If you or you have a loved one that you want to get on that list, we'd love to have you on there. But yeah, you've talked about foster grandparents. Oh, those grannies are great. They're in the schools around the county. Just so valuable for that intergenerational bond to be made. So we love our volunteers.
Yeah. My late parents, in the last year and a half of their life, they're living in Florida, were very dependent on aides who took care of them in the home. And at the time my brother and I set up that arrangement, we looked into the resources that existed in their county in Florida. And viewers and listeners, you're hearing the wonderful array of programs and services that are being provided in Anne Arundel County. But these things don't happen magically, and they don't come free. Where my parents lived in Florida, it was an extremely low-tax environment, both statewide as well as in the county. And my brother and I, since I knew that we had a Department of Aging and Disabilities here in the county. My brother lives in New York, knew there was a similar one in the counties where he lives in New York. We looked what was available in Florida. It didn't exist. There were no programs like this. There were no programs. Small senior center, very tiny. That was all. So that leads me to my next question, and that is, to what extent has your department been impacted by the budget issues which we have faced both here in the county but also statewide and at the federal level?
Well, I share your observation of Florida before I answer the second part of the question. My mother is in Florida, and she is just, when she comes up, or I'll send her one of these, she is shocked, just shocked that there's nothing even close to this in she's, I won't mention what city she's in, but she's just shocked. And again, their senior centers are not at all. So Florida is a state where a lot of people retire to, and it's just, I find it amazing. But to more directly answer your question, about 25% of our budget in Anne Arundel County Department of Aging and Disabilities comes from federal funding that's detailed under the Older Americans Act. That is, most of it is passed through to the state Department of Aging, and then comes into the county. We haven't seen a lot of change there, which is good, because I guess to the extent of the fiscal cliff or the sequestration issues, the Older Americans Act does really protect these services. Now at the local level, we have a lot of people doing more with less. We have such good professionals in our department. We are human services. I'm proud to say that my staff works every day to make sure that the public doesn't know that we've taken some substantial cuts over the years, and that we did our part to support the administration the budgeting issues. But we've lost some staff, but I'm telling you, Michael, you wouldn't know it. Our staff works very, very hard to make sure the public doesn't realize that.
And if the public is interested in getting in touch with your department, how can they do that?
Well, we have several means. Carla, the website.
Definitely the website. Give us a call at 410-222-4464.
Can you repeat that, Carla?
That's 410-222-4464, or you can go online to www.aacounty.org/aging.
Okay, could you repeat that again?
www.aacounty.org/aging.
How about we're social media savvy?
Yes, we're on Facebook. Like our Facebook page. We do a lot of posts there.
I don't know if we're
especially-
twittering yet. Are we twittering? Not
I
yet.
don't think we're tweeting, but you can
Okay.
find a lot of
Tweeting.
information about our programs. You mentioned other things that were coming up, and Pam mentioned caregivers specifically. We have a lot of caregiver workshops. For caregivers of all kinds, there's an ongoing dementia series for both people with dementia and more so for caregivers of people with dementia. And there's also a virtual dementia experience that they can go through. And Pam and I have both done this where you kind of go through at least about an hour in the life of someone with dementia so you can better understand what it is that they're dealing with.
Thank you for viewing our program today, and please join us again on Annapolis Mosaics. If you would like more information about the Annapolis Human Relations Commission, please jot down the information on your screen. You can reach us at 410-263-7998 or by email at hrcommission@annapolis.gov. Or you can check out our page at the City of Annapolis website. Go to www.annapolis.gov and then click on the Boards and Commissions icon at the home page, and you can scroll down to the Human Relations Commission page. And always remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We've flown the air like birds and swum the seas like fishes, but have yet to learn the simple act of walking the earth as brothers and sisters."